Welcome, welcome. The show will be starting in just a few minutes. And if you're watching this in replay, you can skip past this spot. Please remember to share this with all your family and friends. We will start in just a few minutes. On. There we go. Now we're on and we're coming to the stage, and here we are. Okay, Jill, let's get this show started. What do you say?
Yes, let's get started.
Okay.
Well, greetings,
cool.
everyone.
Greetings.
This is I'm Right.
I'm right.
And I'm Jill Cox Cordova.
I'm Anthony Cordova.
But this show is a special edition.
It is?
Yes, it is.
Really?
Before I get to why, we'd like to welcome Deanna. Welcome, Deanna.
Hello,
to our
Deanna.
show. We appreciate
It's
your
really
coming
good
in.
to see you. Okay, cool.
Well, the reason this is a special edition is because we're doing something we both said we would never do.
What's that?
I'm interviewing you, and you're sitting down for this interview.
You
And the
sure you don't
reason-
want me to interview you?
Oh, I'm positive. I am positive.
Okay. All right.
And you may recall that you have witnessed when I was working in news, you have
Mhm.
witnessed me interview people, and sometimes they would cry, and you would say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm never
Yeah.
sitting down for an interview with you."
You're deadly.
I'm not deadly.
You're deadly.
No, I'm
If you
really-
get in that hot seat opposite you, whew,
and
boy.
yet here you are.
Well, I must have lost my mind. That's probably what happened.
Well, our interview is not just, me talking to, you whom I've been married to for 16 years,
It's uh
have known for 18 years.
Okay.
It's about your new show on Fireside.
A new show. Yes, I do have a new show. I do it every other Saturday at 9 p.m.
That's right. So it won't be
And
this Saturday.
no,
You
not
you
this
launched a
Saturday.
week ago.
Yes, I
So
think
it'll
the
be
next show is on the 3rd
that is
of
correct.
September. If I'm
That
not
is
mistaken.
correct. So you ready for the interview?
Do you want to know what the name of the show is, or do I
I'm
have to wait for the interview for that?
I'm bringing it up in my first question.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Well, let me.
And
Let
by
me.
the way, Tony has
Let
no
me.
idea what I'm asking. That's not the type of
That's
interviewer I am. I never give my questions
that's
out
why
ahead of
I'm.
time.
That's why I'm sweating bullets.
You're not, well, you are sweating,
Yeah,
but that's not why.
yeah, sweating bullets.
So, and welcome, Giselle. We see you too. Hello, hello.
Welcome. Hi, Giselle. It's good to see you.
Yes, it is. Okay, so the name of your show is called Poetic People Fighting Racism, or
Yes,
double PFR.
that is correct.
So I'm going to kind of dissect that title a little bit. When I first met you, you were writing poetry,
Spoken word, actually. Spoken word
which
poetry.
is a form of poetry.
Yes. Yeah, I
it
just
not?
want to. No, I'm just clarifying for the audience.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would like to know, when did you first decide to express yourself through spoken word?
Well, there used to be a show on HBO, and it was called Deaf Poetry. That's what it was called. Deaf.
I know it was deaf, but I don't know if it was,
Yeah.
wasn't it like Def Jam poetry?
No,
Okay.
that's when they would have, that was a
Comedy.
different show.
Okay. But anyway, okay, so that show was on.
Anyway, but I saw that show and I said, I have to do that. That was it. Never wrote any poetry before. I just knew I had to do that.
So I know that you're you don't mind telling people your age. So how old were you then? You're 63
That's a
now.
lot. That's a lot of math. Maybe 40.
Okay. So you started writing poetry, specifically performance poetry, which is spoken word, at the age of 40.
Correct.
And when I first read when you first started performing your poetry when we were dating, it was all very dark. Like really dark topics.
Yes, it was dark topics. At that time, I was severely depressed. Actually, I was depressed most of my life, only I didn't know it. I thought that was just life. Well, this is how life is. Everything, you feel awful all the time. You're sad all the time. Don't want to be here all the time, and you have your ups and your downs. But I just thought that was life. I felt that way since I was a child. So I didn't know there was anything wrong with me and I didn't even know then when I started writing my poetry, because everything that you pointed out to me was dark.
It was very dark.
Except for the first poem I wrote was not dark.
What was the first poem you wrote?
Can't write no poetry.
Oh, yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that one was not dark, but most of the stuff that followed was very dark, but it was kind of a therapy for me, but I just didn't realize it.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. And how was the performance? So it's different to just write something that's different than performing it. So what was the performance part for you like?
Well, I really do like to listen to and watch spoken word artists perform their craft. But at the same time, even though I was just starting, I knew it was very important for me to keep my own voice. So I had noticed that a lot of poets had that same cadence, and I wanted mine to be a little bit different. So I tried to stay away from listening to a lot of other spoken word poets.
Okay. Well, our audience is growing. We have
Hi,
Connie just came into the
hi,
room.
audience.
Connie just came into the
Hi,
room.
Connie.
I already said hi to Giselle. Hi,
Cool.
Charity. Hi, Graciela.
Graciella's
Hi,
here.
Queen
Charity
Bee.
and Queen Bee is here. Yes.
Yes, yes. Let me make sure I'm
See,
not missing
and
any. But and Deanna and your
Deanna.
boy Woody.
And what? Yeah, we go bike riding every weekend. Yeah, we do.
Okay, so our like I said, our audience is growing.
Okay.
But not everyone may know what spoken word is. So of course you have to give us a snippet of a poem in spoken word. You have to perform
Well,
it for us, please.
well, I haven't done this one in a while, so but I have it here in front of me. This one is called escalators. Escalators,
Escalators?
escalators.
Okay.
Yes,
Escalators,
yes,
everybody.
that's it.
Go for it.
All right. They kept us on escalators for most of our lives, leading us down, pulling us down to basements and dungeons overrun with hatred and racism and layers of degradation. Escalators made from hatred, designed to run us down, to wear us down till we don't know whether we're facing up or facing down. We run for our lives trying to reach up to true freedom, to come up to the light, to rise up from the darkness of depression, from the hatred of oppression, from the hatred of racism. Sorry, I messed that up. This is the view of Black lives while we live and die. Just trying to survive, just trying to make it without dying, just trying to make it without our brothers and sisters dying, just trying to make it without our fathers and mothers dying, just trying to make it without our children dying before lying in little graves from racist minds we live and die from in this country of lies. They kept us on escalators for most of our lives, leading us down, pulling us down, lower and lower into the muck and mud, into the puke and crud this country has made for us to live in, to swim in. But we keep breathing and living and coming and growing smarter and stronger the longer they try to lead us down, to pull us down into the darkness of subjugation, into the cruelty of domination. A nation made from the creation of white dreams and enslaved souls, the days of old. Good old boys in white robes and hoods that stood for the hatred of Black lives in this country of lies. They kept us on escalators for most of our lives, just leading us down lower and lower. And I'll end it there because it's a lot longer.
Woo! Y'all show him some love. Show him some love.
Thank you very much.
So you plan to start your show, Poetic People Fighting Racism, with a spoken word poem. And like that poem, how long ago did you write that poem?
Gee, I don't know what it's at, about a year ago now, maybe. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it could have been written 10 years ago and still been relevant, right?
Yes, that is
right?
true. That is
so
true.
that gets me to the other half of your show title, Poetic People Fighting Racism.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most racist thing that you've ever been the target of?
Oh, that is a good question.
Why, thank you.
But there are so many times. Growing up, I grew up in Long Island, New York, in Hempstead, and there were red lines all over Hempstead. So communities where only Black people lived, then you can drive a half a mile, and then you're in a community that only white people live, and go another half a mile, and you're back in a community that only Black people live in. And it was like that. It was all mixed up but separate. So quite often we would have to ride our bikes through one of the white neighborhoods just to go to the park or something like that. And all the time, we got the white kids N-word, 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 N-word. So quite often, even the police, if we were just walking down the sidewalk, just good kid, we were just good kids. We weren't doing anything. More than on one occasion, a policeman would see us, a white policeman, and going, let's say, coming towards us. Once he got past us, he would turn around, take his police car, and run down the sidewalk with his police car to see if we would run. So if we ran, in his mind, that meant we did something, and then we would probably get arrested. So the word was, when we saw it coming, we just told everybody, don't run, don't run, don't run, don't run, don't run. Just so many things has happened. You go to the lake with the boat and come back and all our tires are slashed because they didn't like seeing black people at the lake or the river because it was theirs. I could go on like all night on this, so I can't say what the worst case was because I never did get killed or lynched. So, but it was an ongoing thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Many people in our audience, and welcome Dave and Sam and Mel.
Yes.
I see new people
Hi.
have joined us.
Cool.
Welcome. One thing, many people in our audience know that you drive an 18-wheeler truck.
Again, I did retire, but I'm in it again.
And when Ahmaud Arbery was chased and killed by people in a pickup in a town in Georgia, that you would often have to park your truck and stay in overnight, I was terrified. I've always been terrified for Black people in general, but that just terrified me to the point where you stopped. Do you recall you stopped telling me that you had to where you were, where you had to spend the night, because I just knew that someone would see you and drag you out of your truck. So I'm thankful that you're alive. Okay, so racism, politic people fighting racism. Why that?
Well, this is going to be interesting. I have a good answer for this. As you know, Jill, you and I have a podcast.
We do?
Yes, it's called I'm Right, I'm Right.
Yeah.
And before
we just hang out and talk.
And before we came to Fireside, it was just audio.
Right.
So it was, what was it, African American Month? Black History Month. Yes, it was Black History Month. I know what I am. So it was Black History Month. So I said, Jill, let's do a show about using laughter to battle racism. So
nervous laughter.
Well, as a kid, quite often laughter. Some of the ways we got through the racism was to make games about it or laughs. Let's see how long it takes them to lock their doors when they're at the lights. Stuff like that. So I said, well, we'll just tell stories like that. And I know I had told Jill, I'm talking to the audience now. I had told Jill, give it a real light title for it. But Jill
I listened to
Jill
that.
Jill didn't do that.
I put racism in the headline.
She put racism in the headline. So usually each week we had maybe 125 listeners each week. When they saw that racism was in the title, and these are people that were listening to us for years.
From the beginning.
But the moment they saw racism in the title, we only got 12 people.
That's
That's
right.
it. Just
That's right.
12.
To this day.
Just
So,
because,
because people go back and listen to our audio podcast, but
and they
never
won't
that
listen to
one.
that one. They will
Yep,
not. And we did keep it light. We kept that
we
whole
did.
episode real light.
Right.
Um,
Unlike the essay that got me on a tap list,
phone tap list.
phone
Yeah.
tap list.
Yes. So, but we won't get into that. But anyway, so I did decide, well, this time I'm going to purposely put racism in the title. Now, I know I have keywords in that title, fighting and racism and all of that, but most of you that know me know that I'm all about love. I'm
You are the
trying to.
man about love.
Yeah, that's right. I am. Thank you very much. So I wanted to put racism in that title because I knew it was going to take longer to get that show off the ground. But I figured once some people start watching and getting around, they would see that it's all about love and togetherness. So in my show, I'm providing a safe place. There will be no arguments. Swearing will be kept to a minimum. Um, just some place where we can really talk. And by using artists, so we have spoken word artists. I want to have musicians there. I want to have singers there, painters and sculptors to show their work. And
So why creatives?
well, creatives always have been really good at expressing themselves through their art. It's different than just sitting someplace and talking.
Right.
It
Absolutely.
becomes much more powerful. And actually, there's a book I read, the Cast book, excuse me, by Isabel Wilkinson.
Phenomenal writer.
Phenomenal writer. She wrote the Cast book, and I read the Cast book. She did 10 years of research for that book, so it's very accurate.
And she was a New York Times journalist.
Yeah, thanks.
Pulitzer Prize winning too.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jill always has the
I
facts.
have to give you the facts.
So that reading that book inspired me to write my manuscript, Living and Dying, and it's also what the show is based on. So the poems I do in the show are from my manuscript, Living and Dying.
But who is the show really for? For example, when you talk about racism, but really you're talking about discrimination, because you're not just talking about discrimination for color, right? Like you can
correct.
So you're really talking about discrimination. So people who are discriminated against often have these conversations daily, right?
That is correct.
So are you preaching to the choir, or are you trying to educate people?
Well, yeah, it's more of educating people. So in this country, if you are other, if you are LGBTQ, if you are Black, if you are Asian, if you are
a woman,
yes, that's right, and a woman, Roe versus Wade, any of these things that's other than the typical, and I'm going to say this, the typical white male. Anything that's other than the typical white male in this country are definitely discriminated against one way or another. So we're all actually in this together. We really are, and we really need to understand that we are in this together. We have to stop thinking of, oh, I'm better than that person over there. I'm better than them because I was born here and they came here illegally. But they came here trying to save their families, trying to save their lives. I would do the same thing if
Right.
I had that problem.
But how do
Uh,
you get people? Okay, so if you're not talking to just the choir, how do you get people to come in, listen, and learn and do something?
well, I know there's going to be a segment of people that listen to the show um, that say they'll never listen to the show. So
So you mean in replays?
yeah, I know there's going to be
And that's
people.
fine too.
Yes, that's right. So I want that audience. I want that audience. And I do want them to see that it's a safe place. You know, it's not a place to jump on every Caucasian in America. No, I don't want to do that. I want to unite us, not to separate us. I want us to bring us closer. And music and poetry and all that good stuff that helps. Art helps.
Art
It,
helps because sometimes it brings, it doesn't make the wall go away, but sometimes it brings it down a little bit so you can actually see each other,
yeah.
sometimes.
I mean, we have more in common with each other than we don't.
Right.
I mean, really, the only thing that separates us is each other.
That's right.
We separate ourselves. Um,
That's right. Which is actually, to me, a learned behavior.
yes, and not well. Let me retract. It's not the only thing that separates us.
Right. Right.
So
That's
it's
true.
not the only thing.
That's true.
But also one of the things that separate us because of what other people do to us, and I'm talking about red lines. If you can only live in certain parts of town, are you truly free? You know, and
Well, how do you define free?
well, I define free as if if I need to get a job, right? I should never have the thought even pop in my head to say, "Oh, I hope I get this job. They might not hire me because I'm black." You know what I'm saying? You know, you're looking for some place to live. Where are we going to live? Oh, that's a white neighborhood. I don't know if I should live there because I might get lynched. How do I know whether I'm going to get lynched? How do I know how my neighbors are going to treat me? These are thoughts that Caucasian people in the United States don't have. They don't ever have these thoughts, ever. You never have to think, oh, can I move to that neighborhood because I might get lynched? And you can talk about gentrification. So when they want to regain a neighborhood, then they just price us out and we can't stay. So they move us around to wherever they want. And what do we do about it? What can we do about it? That's the big question.
Yes, because, often we've seen, well, here in Georgia with elections and, well, across the country, actually, as soon as we make progress, they change the rules.
And that's right. That's right.
Or the lines, or the, redistricting and all of that.
That is exactly right.
So yeah, it keeps coming back. Okay, so with your show, you're bringing in creatives and letting them express themselves through whatever art form they have.
Mm-hmm.
And you're bringing up whatever the topic about some form of discrimination is about, and you're talking about it. And maybe you'll get people maybe everybody will learn something during that conversation.
That's my hope.
But then what?
Well, once we begin to learn about each other and start finding things we have in common, we can begin to bond. I grew up in New York, and one of the things I did like about New York, and I'm not saying there was no racism in New York, because there sure was, and there still is, but it's true what they say about New York being a melting pot, right? So in New York, I had Jewish friends. I had Puerto Rican friends. I had Dominican friends. Didn't have too many Mexican friends. There just wasn't a lot of them in Long Island at the time. But I had all different types of friends. And yeah, there was differences between the cultures, but we got to learn someone else's culture instead of making stuff up in our minds. I mean, like Sikhs. Everybody's like on Sikhs, but they're like the nicest people ever.
Well, as you know, I used to work for MSNBC. So when I lived in that area, my experience was that, and I came from a national park. I used to live in a
Mm-hmm.
national park. So my experience there was that it was more like a salad bowl. So there's different groups, but then they would all come together and everybody could coexist, with what, and usually it
Mm-hmm.
was because of an art form, whether we went to a Broadway production together or, different or work together,
Mm-hmm.
oh, hi, Deborah.
Oh, there's Deborah.
Yeah,
We
we love
love her.
Deborah. So,
Yes.
art brings people together. I
Yes.
agree with you there. But your show ends with something other than just a conversation. Your poetic people fighting racism.
It does.
It does. Do you recall what it is?
Nope.
I helped I helped you come up with your show.
My call to action.
Yes,
See, I didn't
yes.
forget. I did not forget. I was just joking.
I don't know if you were.
Well, yes. So at the end of each show, I'm going to have a call for action. So it'll be something that will inspire people to think about until the next episode. So in the first show, I did a poem called Family Trees, and it was about lynching Black people. And that's the Caucasians' trees. They hung us in their trees. So I wanted people to go
Still
out.
do.
I still do, yes, because the next episode is coming. To challenge yourself and go out next time you're driving and just look at a tree. Just look at a tree. And trees are beautiful. I love trees. I can look at trees all day, every day. Would not bother me a bit. But then cruel people just just hung, just hung innocent Black people. Just hung them. I mean, it's just awful. And here's the thing is that they still do it today. Only they say it was a suicide.
Or birthday invitation, like the time I got invited to a Klan's birth.
Well, thank goodness you didn't get hung, Jill.
I didn't
Jeez.
go. I didn't give them a chance. I was for the audience. I was once invited. I had put together when I was producing a newscast. I had put together the head of the Klan in Charlotte, North Carolina, as well as the head of the NAACP. Put them together as guests at the same time.
Mhm.
And they agreed to it. But as soon as, well, a couple of days after the interview was over, and nothing happened during the interview, everything was fine. As soon as the interview was over, 2 days later, I get a call from the administrative assistant of the Klansman and inviting me to his birthday party in a barn on a road that was unmarked, couldn't tell me the street name, all of that. And so I didn't go.
That's good. I'm glad you didn't go. I'm very happy you didn't go.
I did not go.
Yeah, but seriously, with my show, I really do want to bring everybody together. LGBTQ, everybody. We're all human beings. Okay? We're not as different as we think we are. We're all human beings. We love, we cry, we smile, we are happy, we dance, we eat food, we do all of these things. We go to the theater. We do all of these things. So we are not really as different as people would want to make us. But that is the problem. The powers to be want us to believe that we're that different. They want us to believe that. They want us to take on their, I'm just going to call it a sickness, to take on their sickness of putting someone else down to make yourself feel better.
So that has been going on long before any of us were born, right?
That is correct.
So why this show now?
Because things are getting worse. As you pointed out in the beginning of the show, I'm 63 years old. And I'm going through the same stuff I did when I was a kid. And worse. You know, ever since Barack Obama became president, it was like a switch was flipped. And they were like, oh, they're getting too close now. we got to put the brakes on this. And seriously.
Yeah, I was in news then, and I had arguments on a daily basis because even though I was part of the media then, they wanted to call it a post-racist society simply because Barack had been elected. And I was like, I'm sure he would tell you he's still being discriminated against.
That's right.
That is not the right word to use.
As the president of the United States, he was still discriminated against.
Yes.
You know, back then is when I was on the road all the time. And, you know, truckers have CB radios. After Barack Obama became president, all I heard every single day, quite often, was die and die, die and die. We need to kill all of them. We need to kill all of them. All of this stuff I'm hearing every day. And it's one of the reasons I retired. Because it really, I've been hearing it my whole life. And I was ready to snap.
One time you did snap.
Well, we're not going to talk about that.
Okay. I mean, nothing happened to anybody.
I don't want to incriminate myself.
No. And nothing, you didn't actually follow through with that. So.
Well, it actually was a couple of times, but I couldn't take it anymore. I just could not take it anymore. All of these years, and it's worse. So I'm a person that identifies a problem. And then I say, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? So me writing my book of poetry, me starting the show, me moving to the neighborhood I live in, which is predominantly white, that's what I'm doing about it. And I have been called the N-word in my own neighborhood. Okay. When I was looking for a place to live, the real estate, I found a neighborhood and the real estate agent said, no. And it was a white real estate agent. She says, no, you don't want to live here. So why not? It's a nice neighborhood. It's beautiful. You don't want to live here. I'm like, why not? So she told me a story. There was a black woman wanted to move to the neighborhood, but none of the real estate agents would show her the house. So she found a white male friend of hers to buy the house. So he bought the house and then sold it to her. So she moves in. I think after the first 3 days, they're burning a cross on her lawn. And they started doing stuff to her every single day. And I went to check the news. You know, I wouldn't check the reports to make sure that that really did happen. And it really did happen. And eventually she moved because she just couldn't do it. She just didn't do it. And in Georgia, there are neighborhoods just like that right now. Right now. So red lines do exist. They don't want us here. And it doesn't matter. That particular neighborhood, if you were any part of LGBTQ, they wouldn't want you there. They wouldn't want you there. They do everything to get you out.
Dave has a comment for you, a written comment. He says, "I love your new show, Tony.
Thank you.
Very thought provoking and needed. Thank you, sir."
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, I have two more questions.
You do? Okay.
What's the ultimate takeaway message that you want your audience of Poetic People Fighting Racism to gain?
The number one message. This is an easy one. Love. We need to learn to love each other. Because you really need to think about it. We're all humans. And no matter what you believe as far as religion or God or whatever you believe in, we all came from the same place. All of us. So we are the same blood. It started with two. We're all part of the same. I like to say we're brothers and sisters and long lost cousins, because we are. We need to look at each other that way and learn to love each other. You know, you got long lost cousins. You don't want them hanging around. You know what I'm saying? But you still have some love for them.
So can you love someone and not like them?
I absolutely can. No problem. Yes, I will still care about that person. We'll still care about it. It's just we've got so many people in prison, and people just, it's like they're not human anymore. That's the way people look at them. They're not human. Oh, whatever happens to them. Blah, blah, blah. No. You got to have love for them too. We got to love everybody. You got to love the homeless person. You got to love the person that stole your car. Still have some love for them. Because why did they have to steal that car? Why? Why is there 5 generations of a family living in low income housing? Why is that? They didn't choose to put themselves there. Someone else chose that's where they're going to live. And it's tied to education, it's tied to money, it's tied to red lines, it's tied to all of these different things that they put on us.
I have a comment from Deborah, and then I have two questions based on what you just said. Okay, so Deborah's comment says, "Love this. I happen to be assisting in merit badge for 3 troops. It's citizenship in society, and we are discussing inclusion, being upstanders, and diversity. I love that you mentioned love."
And I love that, Deborah. I am happy that you're doing that. I was actually a Cub Scout myself, and my troop, my particular troop was mixed race. So, and we never had a problem with each other as, you know, little boys playing and all that. Never had a problem. All was good. But, you know, it's a funny thing, though. Once we weren't in the troop, things changed.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things changed. As we got older, as we went to high school, as we went to college, I had white friends that I hung with all the time in school. And I went to a predominantly black school, but we had white kids there too. And we all lived in the same neighborhood. When the white kids went to college and I went to college, they acted like they didn't know me.
Oh,
They've known me like our whole lives. I've been over their houses, stayed at their houses like all day, had dinner, all of that. But we get to college where it's predominantly white and they don't know me anymore.
wow. Wow.
So that's not love.
No, it's not. So, okay. Do you have, okay, so we've been talking this whole time about really heavy subjects,
Yes.
right? And things that, weigh down on people on a daily basis, sometimes by minute.
Hmm.
Like every minute there's something, right? So do you have hope?
I do have hope. If I didn't have any hope, we wouldn't be doing this right this minute. We wouldn't. Fireside, for those that don't know, Fireside really does a good job of supporting anyone that's other on their platform. I know it's true. We've always got great support from Fireside,
We have. And
where
from the audience.
and from the audience, and that's
The
that's
other
the other
creators. It's a
that's the other
wonderful
thing.
community.
Yes, all the other creators on Fireside are fabulous. It doesn't matter whether the creator is wealthy or not. It doesn't matter. A creator, and I know when we first got on Fireside, you didn't have to look for help. If you were doing something wrong,
They
you
would
didn't.
pop in and
They
they
would
tell you,
pop
they're like,
in.
oh, do this or do this, do that.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right. And it didn't matter what color we were or anything else. They just help. We're all creators here. Um, and I mean, I have met. I'm looking at the audience now, and most people in the audience I have talked to before. I've either been in their show or they came to our show, but I have talked to just about everyone. And I can tell you who I haven't talked to. I haven't talked to Mel. So you're on my list, Mel. I'm going to need to talk to you. But yeah, I pay attention to everybody on Fireside and what they're doing, and if I can do something to help them out, I'll do it.
Yeah.
If I can do anything to support them, they may not have a large following, and maybe I know that, so I'm going to show up.
Yes.
Just give some support.
You are
you know.
very supportive. I have
Yeah.
another comment from Deborah.
Thank you.
She says, I'm so sorry. When you were talking about what happened when you went to college,
Mhm.
I'm so sorry you went through that. I had to go through it on a regular basis. Often it's people who do not know what to say, so instead they ignore me.
Oh, that's messed up. you know, but
You
that's
know,
but that's the thing. You see, that's the thing. Um, Here on Fireside, I haven't seen the discrimination.
right,
I
right.
just haven't seen it. And how do you get to know a person if they're handicapped? Maybe you didn't know a handicapped person before, but how do you get to know them?
Disabled.
Disabled. Thank you, Jill. But how do you get to know someone else unless you talk to them?
Right.
Unless you have some type of relationship with them.
Right. That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct.
So,
Because I had with your college experience, I had kind of the opposite in high school, where my high school was really small. Like there were only 58 people in my class, in my graduating class, and I was always near the top of my class, and
You smart lady.
and I often won awards
I wasn't at the top of my class.
and I often won awards and things like that.
Hmm.
But the discrimination toward me came in the form of what people thought were compliments. Like, "Wow, you're really articulate."
For a black
And
person.
that's what
Yeah.
wasn't said, right? And I
Hmm.
was on the speech team, so I
Hmm.
should be. And even students told me that when I was a professor, like, well, I should be. I'm teaching English. So things like that, people don't realize what their biases are. So are you going to address that in your show?
Oh,
Like, there's a
absolutely,
lot of
absolutely,
unconscious
absolutely,
bias.
absolutely. There are many unconscious bias. When you get into systemic racism and how deep um, it runs through every single person that was born in this country. You have felt some effect, whether it's negative, and won't be any positive with negative, no positive. So we all have these biases because of systemic racism. If you are a person that grew up in America and there were no black people around, maybe there's no black people in your town, but maybe there is. Maybe there's about 50 or 60 black people, but they live in their section over there. So you never got to interact with a black person because they made sure they separated us. And then other people segregate themselves on purpose. It's like, I'm going to make sure I move as far away as I can from them. So how are they going to get to know us? How are they going to get to know that,
Some people are conditioned to segregate themselves.
but that's what's systemic.
I know.
That is what
I know.
is
So how do
systemic.
you go about dismantling systems that have been around hundreds and hundreds of years?
It it starts at the ground level.
Starts with
If
people, right?
that is exactly right. It starts with people. So, and which people? You have to go start with the people that have the most in common. Artists.
Right. Right.
Artists have a lot in common because artists are about the art.
Yes. Creative
Most
people
That's
process
right.
things in a certain way.
Creative people don't care what color you are. They don't care how many legs you have. They don't care about these things. They care about the art and they care about the person. They don't see all that other stuff, the negative stuff that this country wants us to believe. Yeah.
Deborah has a comment. She says, I was shocked to learn so many kids didn't know what intersectional discrimination was. We need to have more conversations with youth. I agree.
Ooh, that
Absolutely
is
right.
absolutely
In,
true.
in fact, when I was a college professor teaching first year students, I made sure that they could express themselves and see what they wanted to talk about, and that's what they wanted to talk about.
Hmm.
Were the things that they were facing. So when the state of Georgia, because I was working for a public school in Georgia, when the state of Georgia said we can no longer have discussions about things
Yeah.
like that, I quit.
Yeah, I mean
Like, what?
yes, but it's insane when you think about Florida has a don't say gay law.
That's
They don't say
insane.
gay.
And it's
Don't
2022.
It's 2022, but a teacher cannot even have a conversation in the classroom about anything LGBTQ.
Right.
And now the teachers are scared
Mm-hmm.
because you had some teachers that are going to rat on them.
You
Then
got
you have
some students
the
that'll
students will rat
rat.
on them, because their
Because our students
parents.
were told to do that.
Yeah,
They were told to
yeah.
tell.
But
Mine didn't, but they were told to tell.
yeah, but I mean, the awful way of thinking of some people. I mean, you really think how ridiculous it is. You need to hate them because their skin is darker. And
It
then they'll
doesn't
go
even
out
make
to the
sense.
beach to get as dark as that person.
And
What's that up?
they want to do like this and like, am I
Yes.
darker than you? Like, are
Yes.
you?
Yes.
It
I mean, it's just when you really, really give it a good thought, how ridiculous is it?
really is.
It's no different than hate that person because they're wearing a party hat. It's just ridiculous.
Right. Right. Well, when we started this show tonight, or before the show started, Tony and I were like, "Oh, we're gonna make this a 30-minute show." Ha ha!
It
It is
hasn't. It's
eight
been.
52.
Oh, it hasn't been 30. I was wondering if is it
So
30. Did we get to 30 minutes yet?
it is 8:52. So I want to end my questions, but open it up to the audience. If the audience wants to make a comment to Tony or ask him a question, and while we're
Yes.
waiting for that to happen or not, I just want to tell you that I'm really proud of you.
Oh, thank you,
Um,
sweetheart. That
I
means a lot
really
to me.
am. So most of you all are firesiders, and you may have seen that Tony took me out of his picture. Like it's just a picture of
We're still
him,
married.
but we're still married. Everything's fine. We're still married, and we still have this show. But I really am proud of you
Well,
because
thank you,
this has been
sweetheart.
years in the making, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah. I
glad
mean,
that you
for real.
finally. I'm glad that you finally did it.
Well,
I
thank you.
am.
Well, I'm still working on it. Still working on it.
So, would anyone like to say something, or
Well,
we have
you,
I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name, but your name looks like Farouz. Is that correct? I am accepting a request from Deborah.
Deborah, I love
Can
Deborah.
you hear me? I don't
Yes,
know
we
if you can
can.
hear me.
Hi,
Yes.
Deborah.
Oh, hey! There's an update with the app, and now I can use my microphone system. Oh, this is so cool.
Oh, really? I didn't know. I know they did some updates.
I got really frustrated the other day when I couldn't use my whole setup, and now it works. Sorry, I'm
Oh, cool.
squirrel moment.
Did you
Squirrel
want
brain
video,
moment.
Deborah?
Sure. You get to
Okay.
see
Hey, we get to
by
see
my
Deborah.
meditation corner. Let's see. Where's my? Oh, I don't see the option for video.
I'm getting ready to
She
send you a
she's
thing.
sending it to you, but it's moving
It's moving
slow.
slow, but here it comes. Okay, I just
Alrighty.
sent it.
Okay. Lighting isn't great, but that's okay.
All right, let me
Hey,
enlarge this so I can see you.
hey,
There you
Deborah.
are.
How are
You
you?
are looking fantastic. Do you know that red is my favorite color?
Oh wow. I did not know
Yeah,
that.
still, yeah. Part of this wall
I
behind
was
us is
gonna say,
red.
see?
It's the truth.
Wait, just lost my fireside. This is so weird. There's an update, and I've been like trying to figure this thing out. Oh wow, now I got a big screen. This is really cool. You can hear me as I'm doing this. Is hilarious.
Yeah,
Oh
we hear
yes, we
you.
could hear you. We could see you.
See, I'm in my meditation corner, sort of corner. But I love what you're talking about. So one of the most moving experiences I had as a teenager was a program that my high school had started. Actually, my brother's class started. So yeah, we competed about everything. They did this program called Bring Unity to Youth. So my high school was middle class, surrounded by some really upper class neighborhoods on Long Island, and a neighboring school.
Oh, you're a Long Island
I'm a
girl.
Long Island girl. Yes.
What part?
So
I know
I
I'm
go to Port Jeff
interrupting.
Station, and we actually did
Okay.
a program with Wine Dance, and it was a
Yeah,
school that
I know
was
Wine
all
Dance. My cousin lived in Wine Dance.
okay. So it's it's all African American and very. I don't think there was any white students in the school at the time. So there were Latina and African American, and we did a program called Bring Unity to Youth. We brought student leaders from both of the schools, and we sat in a room and talked about our preconceived notions about each other. We had the same
Oh.
views. We had the same misconceptions, which was kind of funny. But the best part was switching schools. So I was bussed over to Wyandanch, and I went to school with students, and I learned what it was like to be a white person in a school with no other white people, right?
Mhm.
And more importantly, and this is why I was impacted educationally wise, I saw that the students couldn't get a Regents degree because of the programs that were being offered or the lack of funding for teachers who taught Regents programs.
Mm-hmm.
That was mind blowing to me that you couldn't get a Regents degree. And you need it to get into any of the main universities or to even transfer later on into other universities. So it was really impacted very early on. But the reason why I mention it is this experience was really, it was really eye opening, right? You really got to see for a moment what it was like to be a minority in a different school, right? You
Mm-hmm.
got to learn about the cultural differences and realize most of your views are because of social media and TV shows and they're not
Mm.
actual realities, right? And to get that upfront, have that interaction, and actually have that dialogue with students, I thought was essential. And we only did it with the student leaders, but I thought it was an amazing program. And okay, this is like almost, well, actually, it is 30 years later. Gosh, I didn't even think I'd get
Hey,
there.
you're younger than me.
This is my 30-year high school reunion. I realized that like last month. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did that happen? Uh, but the reality is that experience stayed with me because we
Mhm.
learned about each other's without care about the right terms. Right? It wasn't about terms. It wasn't about he said, she said. It was just to learn. Right? Just to
Yeah.
see culturally difference, what you do at home, what you do at school, and to break those barriers, to go past those preconceived notions that I can't talk to this woman or she can't talk to me because we're not in the same group or we
Yeah.
don't look the same, right? To go past that was amazing. And I really think we need to have more of these programs that force us to learn what our preconceived notions are, to get some awareness of what our preconceived, because we all have prejudices, our brains are machines, right? We take in information, it processes it, it spits it back out to you. It doesn't mean we're stuck there, right? It just means that's how the brain processes it. And if we're aware of that, we can work with that to make sure we're choosing more open and creating more open spaces for people, right? To create space at the table for each other.
Absolutely.
And that was something we did in our mediation training. We had to learn where our prejudices were so that when we work with people, we're aware of it, right? And I think we need to do this with our youth because we don't do it enough. And then when they get to college, they're like, I don't know what to do. So they just
Right.
kind of continue that same path of ignoring and not speaking to the issue, not learning of the issue. When I mentioned intersectional discrimination, I was really surprised to see how many people didn't know what it was, right? But when we started having a lot more of, and this is what I'm going to mention as a mom, when all of the riots were happening, we started talking more about Black Lives Matter. We started learning more about these things. My kids are biracial. My husband's Korean, and of course, for some reason, they think they're New Yorkian. That's my child's terminology for that. My New York personality. But
So,
I got this great book. It was written by a young teenage woman. I think she was 14 or 15, and she talked about her life with intersectional discrimination. And she broke it down into all these different categories and where she lies, right? And I thought that was
hmm
a great book for my son. He was in 5th grade at the time. And then we also read, I think it's my white brother and his two young men, teenagers that were in a high school that were doing pretty well and family well to do, but one was light skinned, one was dark skinned, and they went to a private school, and it followed them on this journey of accessing sports, and it was fencing, and ultimately the discrimination that the darker brother skinned brother had versus the lighter skinned brother had.
yeah.
And it was a great story though because it was able to see these differences and the impact of the verbiage that this classmates used, how that impacted them uh, emotionally, right, and socially, and being able to interact with people, and eventually to where they did their sports. But as a parent, these are books that I think we should be giving. And I'm not telling all parents they have to do this, but I felt good about, I'm not saying all need to do it, but I think it's a good thing to do because, like you were said, not all kids see people of different ethnic backgrounds, right? And without that, they get to learn some of
hmm
these other elements. So I thought those books were good, and I was just throwing that out there because I really feel we need to start when they're young so that they
Right.
get
That
comfortable
that is it.
asking, right? And get comfortable saying, I don't know your story, but can you tell me your experience? I do that all the
Absolutely.
time. I'm an
Well,
advocate, right? And I want to know people's stories. Sorry, let you go.
yeah, Deborah, you just applied for a job and you have it. So you are my right-hand woman now. I'll send you the paperwork and we can get this going. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much, Deborah. We always love hearing from you.
Yes, yes.
All right. What else do we have? Jill, do we
Uh,
have anyone else?
No,
I want to talk to Mel because I haven't talked to Mel.
I will send Mel
I
an
just want to meet
invitation to
Mel.
speak.
Please come up. Please
Oh,
come up.
it's moving really
It's
slowly.
something. Yeah, it's moving slow.
Here we go.
Do you have the update?
All right, Mel, I just sent you an invitation
Do you
to
have the
speak
update
if you
on?
would
Is that why
like.
it's slow?
Oh yeah. Can do you mind if we take you off the stage?
Take
Oh
me right
yeah,
off.
it's something like
You
we
can
couldn't even
kick
hear
me
you
off the
that time.
stage.
She said, "Yeah, you can take her,
Yeah, I unmuted
take her
myself.
down.
Okay.
Kick me off. You can kick me off the stage.
Don't kick her out of the show, Jill. Just off the stage." There we go.
I did. Okay.
All right. So Mel, you don't have to come on video. Just speak. I just want to say hello.
Well, while we're
Well,
seeing, we also have, I believe it's Farouz. Of course, we have Mel. We have
okay.
Graciela.
Graciela.
We have
Graciela
Connie.
is
We have
fabulous.
Charity. And we have Deanna.
Oh, cool. We have a nice audience
We
here.
do.
Some wonderful people.
So no one else wants to speak? Oh, Mel came up.
Hey.
Hi, Mel.
Hello, Mel.
Would you like video?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
We do hear you.
Would you like video?
Hi. No, I'm fine with audio, thank you.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, it's
I'm
nice to
very
talk to
new to all
you.
these. Oh, thank you so much for this, invitation to speak. And I'm really new to all these platforms of talking, so I
Okay.
am a little bit nervous. So
Oh, it's
it's
okay.
really
We're
nice
all
to meet you
friends here.
all.
Yeah, that's right. You're in a safe place.
And as you can tell, I'm from Australia, so I'm really happy to be meeting so many nice people and so many good subjects and really important issues that I'm so happy to hear, and I'm so grateful that you're bringing these up. So
Oh.
thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
And
Thank you.
thank you. Well, now I've met you. So,
That's right.
Mel, are you going to be a creator on Fireside?
I'm still feeling things out right now, so I'll wait and see how we go.
Well, if you do,
Okay.
please let us know so that we can support you.
Sure. Thank you so much, and congratulations, and continue the good work.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so
We
much, Mel.
appreciate
And I'm
it.
so happy I finally got to meet you.
Yes, me too.
It's
And
cool.
Farouz left us a message saying, "Have to run. Thanks for an excellent show."
Thank you, Varys. Thank you.
All right, we're at 9:04
We're at
now.
9:04, so
We're actually
isn't
over.
it time for us to close this
Yes,
out,
it
Jill?
is. Yes, it is. But thank you, everyone, for being here, for
Thank you.
supporting us together, for supporting Tony with his new show. We truly love the Fireside community. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Yes, and I hope to see you all on September 3rd at 9 o'clock for Double PFR.
Which stands for
Go ahead,
Poetic
Jill.
People Fighting Racism. But we are, I'm Right. We'll be here next Wednesday. And we actually have guests. We're talking about the power of love and taking your relationships to the next level. And we have
Cool.
guests.
Cool. That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you,
as
everyone.
Usual, we love you all.
We love you all.
And hope to see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye. And I guess I'm going to